Everybody, how's this for timing? Just got to Scotiabank tonight for the Leaf game. The news just broke. Morgan Rielly has been suspended for 5 games. So here's the question. Did this just cost the Toronto Maple Leafs a first-round draft pick? I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment, but first to the suspension itself. Rielly's suspension is for his cross-check to the face of Sens center Ridly Greig, of course. The league says Rielly intentionally struck Greig in the head with his stick. The league also pointed out the hit was clearly retaliatory. It came well after the play was over and was definitely not a hockey play. What Rielly did have going in his favor was the fact that Greig wasn't hurt, and Rielly has never been suspended or fined previously in his NHL career. So that's how they came up with the number 5. So where do the Leafs now go from here? Yes, there is a possibility the Leafs could win an appeal, but that's a very long, slow process, so don't count on that happening. So why do I suggest this could actually cost them a first-round draft pick? Well, here are some numbers for you to consider. He leads the Leafs with over 24 minutes of ice time per game. That means he plays almost half of every single game. No one else on the team is even close to those numbers. They'll be filling those minutes in the game with vastly inferior talent on the blue line. And it doesn't just hurt them defensively, but offensively as well. Over 22% of the Leafs' goals have come on the power play. Rielly anchors that power play. He's now out for 5 games. Can they really count on Jake McCabe or Timothy Littlegren to fill that void for the next 5 games? Rielly's 4th on the team in scoring, number 1 among D-men by a huge margin. And to make matters worse, the Leafs are in a much tighter fight for a playoff spot right now than they ever thought they'd be before the start of this NHL season. So, here's the question. Up until now, Brad Treliving has been hesitant to pay too high a price to bring in help on the Toronto blue line. The Flames want a second-round pick for Chris Tanev, but the Leafs don't have a second-rounder, so the Flames are asking for the Leafs' first-rounder. Up until now, the Leafs have said, no way. But does the Rielly suspension now put a playoff spot in even more doubt and force Brad Treliving to pay a much steeper price than he would have if Rielly weren't out for the next 5 games? They may be faced with a brutal decision. Overpay now or risk missing the playoffs altogether this season. Once again, the news is in. Morgan Rielly has been suspended for 5 games for his cross-check to the face of Ridly Greig. So, what do you think of the suspension? What do you think of the number? Too much, too little, or just right? And what do you think the Leafs should do now? Try to ride out the storm while Rielly is out? Or do you think they now absolutely need to make a deal as soon as possible to bring in some help for their blue line? The comments are open. I'd love to hear what you have to say.